something that we had talked about, Superintendent Hughes, at the PACE event last year was the way that you have used data over time to pinpoint which areas are your strengths and which areas are your weaknesses. Can you take us through a little bit of your, I guess, how did you determine that you could utilize data in that way? I don't know if it's a common thing across K-12 for superintendents or leadership in K-12 to get that granular with the data. Are you doing something that's very rare? Are you, doing something that's very common? And what does data mean for you as a district leader?
Thank you much. Thank you so much for that question as well. I have a term that I use, I've coined, in God we trust. We are in the state of Florida, in God we
Hmm.
trust, but everybody else bring data.
Okay.
So what it is in my mind abnormal. It is not really the constant for every leader. Everyone talks about data, but the
Hmm.
reality is data is not effective or measurable unless we really look at it for decision making. So what we do is we gather data and we try to do it in its most granular aspect. So when everybody else looks at um, proficiency, we look at proficiency, learning gains, and each student how far they've learned, what they've taken. We've looked at their history of performance to try to figure out where we may have hiccups. Do we find trends? We really got to a granular support because we really excelled so quickly. Our trajectory with performance of students, where we had to find out, okay, we went from 35 to number two in 7 years. How do we get to number one? What's different? So we really kind of disaggregated our data to find out, okay, which which ethnicity, how are they doing? What gender, male or female? We really narrowed down the performance of students where we saw that our white male students were not growing at the rate of some of our white female students. So we looked at what the differences were. We did something that was very, very innovative, where we looked at the students who were in our what we call them level three courses, advanced courses, and we found that our African American students were not matching the ELL students in their level three honors courses, dual enrollment. So we went to those students and said, we're going to challenge you. We went to those parents who were okay with them making A's on their report cards, but they weren't being challenged to their most cognitive level, the best cognitive level that we could say, we got to get more out of you. And what we know is the resiliency of children is probably something that can overwhelm and it take a lot of people by surprise. But we know that they can do a lot more than we expected them. So we have high expectations without excuse. So we took ourselves and we grew ourselves to say, we're going to challenge you as a district to do something that is uncandid. And then we're going to challenge students who are not used to this kind of cognitive instruction or space. And we're going to challenge them to do it. And guess what? They rose to the occasion. We have, and what they call it, the opportunity gap. When you have those gaps in different ethnicities, or cohorts, or population, or subgroups, we have narrowed and almost eliminated the gap of students by percentage wise who are taking those level three courses. So we don't allow any gaps in our subgroups to hinder our success.